Hi, today I'm going to be demonstrating how to configure our new feature called the Internet Control Center on our new product, the Yachtspot Pro. The Yachtspot Pro is a variant on our existing Yachtspot 4G plus Wi-Fi product. Um, it, uh, it it has an extra Ethernet port, which you can see in the photograph here, called ICC, and it uses modified firmware, and it creates in addition to the usual Yachtspot 4G plus Wi-Fi features, the ability to switch between other IP devices that you may use to connect to the internet, such as fleet broadband. So it gives some of the functionality of products like the Livewire service selector. Okay, so the first thing is to set up the actual hardware. There are diagrams in the manual. I'll just bring those up. As you can see, there's at least 3 scenarios in the manual with details on the actual configuration. You can use a single unmanaged switch. That means everything's on the same broadcast domain, but the connectors, the devices that you'll like for fleet broadband, need to be on a separate logical network, even though they're on the same physical network. Let's just move that across so you can see that. You can use 2 unmanaged switches. The ICC port goes to the switch with the sub network, which has at this point has fleet broadband and a fixed line connection on, and the usual Ethernet port goes to the LAN. There's a third configuration here. Which shows the use of using a single managed switch with 2 VLANs. Here we are on my Cisco managed switch, just to show you how I've set up the 2 VLANs. Windows 7 is my Windows 7 machine on VLAN 1. Yachtspot Pro's LAN Ethernet adapter is connected to port G4, which is on VLAN 1 as well. The Yachtspot Pro's ICC, the secondary Ethernet port, is connected to G7, which is on VLAN 2, and well, I've named this description as a fleet broadband. It's not actually a fleet broadband device. It's just an old Yachtspot Wi-Fi that's on port G5, and that's on VLAN 2 as well. So if I go to the port to VLAN mappings, you'll see that ports G5 and G7 are on a different VLAN to the LAN. So G5 was G5 was the fleet broadband device, and G7 is the ICC interface on the Yachtspot Pro. If we look at VLAN 2, you'll see that those are enabled now on the port that controls the Yachtspot Wi-Fi device or the fleet broadband device, and the Yachtspot Pro's ICC interface. Right, so if we So that's basically the hardware configuration. As you can see, it's pretty simple. So let's go back and have a look at how we configure all of this on the Yachtspot itself. I've already configured a couple of connectors, and that's given me a link on the left hand side here that says Internet Control Center. We go to the Internet Control Center, you'll see that I've configured two connectors. One is connecting to a fixed line, and the other to the fleet broadband device. So from the crew's or the owner's point of view, to them the Yachtspot interface allows them a centralized place to come to swap between all the internet connection devices on the network. So from their perspective, they would just come here, click, if they wanted to say move to fleet broadband, click Internet Control Center, and then they click the fleet broadband menu item there, and after a short delay, there you go, it says it's connected to the fleet broadband device. In this case, as I said, it's actually Yachtspot Wi-Fi. But again, with the fleet broadband, if you need to configure the device over HTTP, you just, once it's connected, you click again. As you can see, that's the Yachtspot 5, and it gives you a clickable link to then go and activate your fleet broadband. You can you can switch between connectors. You simply click another icon and it will swap between connectors. You can go back to Wi-Fi, and it will automatically disconnect the existing connector. There we go, we're back on Wi-Fi. If we go back to the Internet Control Center, you'll see those connectors are switched off. Okay, so next thing, how do you configure it? Alright, first we need to go to the welcome page and the network and systems configuration, and we need to put in the administrator password. The administrator password, default password, is admin. That will give us a much longer list of contents on the left hand side. First thing you need to do when you set up ICC is to click on the ICC interface link, and there you need to give basically the secondary interface, the ICC interface on the Yachtspot needs to be given an address on the same logical network as you're going to be using for your connectors. The fleet broadband device has been set up on 192.168.2.1, so the Yachtspot ICC interface needs to be obviously a different IP to that. Here I've set it to 192.168.2.2 with the same subnet mask as your connectors will be using. Then you click save, and that's it. It's that simple. The next thing you need to do is you need to go to your ICC interface, and here you can set up each individual device, each connector. As you can see, those two are already set up, but I'll just show you how simple it is. You would normally click add connector, but here I can just click edit connector, which moves me to the fleet broadband, You put in a description, you select which icon you'd like to show on the Internet Control Center page. You put in the URL of the connector. You can obviously, if it uses HTTPS, you can put HTTPS. Some examples here, or if it's on a different port, some examples there that you can follow. Here, the Fleet broadband device I've set to 192.168.2.1, and I'm using the DNS forwarder that's on the Fleet broadband device. It could be a different DNS server, different secondary DNS server, whatever. And then you click save, and that's it. And once you create that connector, then this link will show. It doesn't show until you've done that. And there you go. It's actually that simple. So with the Internet Control Center, if you're using VLANs or separate switches for the LAN interface and the ICC interface on the Yachtspot, you're obviously now isolating the connectors onto a different physical subnet. That's obviously has some security advantages and also some advantages in terms of accessing the devices on the ICC network. So using the Yachtspot, you can restrict access to, for example, Fleet broadband, or to certain, or using, restrict access to using certain protocols over Fleet broadband. So just to demonstrate this, I'll show you our firewall rules. I've set up a a blocking rule on the LAN interface that basically stops you making an outward bound SMTP connection when the ICC interface is active. I'll just show you how the rule is set up. Just edit the rule. First of all, the action is to block. I'm excluding this particular rule from the wireless interface, the mobile interface, and the SafeSurf VPN interface. So it's only actually active when ICC is the active interface. So as you can see, it's any packet originating on the LAN subnet and going anywhere, and the destination port will be port 25, which is SMTP. Give it a description and save it. So there you go. So at the moment we're working over Wi-Fi, and if I bring up a command prompt and I run a telnet command to an SMTP server, you can see that I can access an SMTP server over wireless. However, if we move to the Fleet broadband connector, which is on the ICC network, and then we bring up the command box again and run the same command, as you can see, we now can't make an outbound connection to the SMTP server. So there you go. That's an overview of the new features in the new Yachtspot Pro. Thanks for listening. Bye.